This session will provide an overview of how LEAs can support homeless students and parents as part of their Title I Part A program. Participants will learn about the process for Title I Part A use of funds as it relates to supporting homeless students and parents, Title I Part A program compliance requirements, and allowable activities to support homeless students and parents. At the Texas Education Agency, everything we do is through the lens of the strategic priorities and enablers. We believe that it is our responsibility to ensure that every child is prepared for success in college, a career, or the military. We look to accomplish this through our strategic priorities, which are to recruit, support, and retain teachers and principals, build a foundation of reading and math, connect high school to career and college, and improve low-performing schools. Our enablers are to increase transparency, fairness, and rigor in district and campus academic and financial performance, ensure compliance effectively, implement legislation, and inform policymakers, and strengthen organizational foundations. To achieve our vision, we must all work together to make these strategic priorities our roadmap, and specifically in finding innovative ways to support families. Most importantly, families experiencing homelessness, which is the reason we are all here today. As I listened to Tuesday's keynote by Liz Murray, and I began to self-reflect on the question she asked us to ponder, what does it take to make a difference in someone's life? I reflected on what difference I can make in my current role and thought of the work we all do as it relates to ensuring that the decisions we make on a daily basis are guided by what's best for the students and families our programs are to benefit. We must all view compliance through the equity lens to ensure that our most vulnerable populations are receiving the support they need. We will begin by reviewing the Title I Part A use of funds requirements. Homeless children and youths are automatically eligible for services under Title I Part A, whether or not they live in a Title I school attendance area or meet the academic standards required of other children for Title I eligibility. For example, homeless children and youth may receive Title I educational or support services from Schoolwide and targeted assistance school programs. It is important for LEAs to be familiar with the use of funds requirements associated with the Title I Part A program to maximize the use of program funds and to document appropriate use of such funds. LEAs can use this checklist to determine whether an activity and/or resource meets the use of funds requirements. The 5 items on the checklist include comprehensive needs assessment and campus improvement plan, supplement not supplant methodology, EDGAR requirements, LEA policies and procedures, and some additional requirements. The Comprehensive Needs Assessment, known as the CNA, and the Campus Improvement Plan, known as the CIP, are the first items that are grouped together because they go hand in hand. LEAs should be aware that anything that involves the expenditure of Title I Part A funds must be addressed as a need in the most current Comprehensive Needs Assessment and included in the most current Campus Improvement Plan. Timeliness is extremely important. Before Title I Part A funds can be encumbered, LEAs must ensure that the activity has been identified as a need in the most current CNA and included in the most current CIP. Additional information related to the program compliance requirements associated with the CNA and CIP will be shared later in the presentation. The next Title I Part A use of funds item is the supplement not supplant methodology. With the inception of ESEA, The SNS requirements changed for Title I Part A. LEAs are no longer required to follow the traditional presumptions of supplant that still remain in place for other federal programs. Instead, LEAs must have a valid supplement not supplant methodology for allocating state and local funds to campuses or a statement of exemption. In both situations, the LEA must also ensure that state and local funds that are reserved at the LEA level are used to support activities that do not take the Title I status of campuses into account. Any Title I Part A funds that are reserved at the LEA level must be used for activities that meet the intent and purpose of Title I Part A, as well as the other use of funds requirements. For additional information related to the Supplement Not Supplant methodology, please take a look at our Supplement Not Supplant handbook. It can be found on our website. A live link to the handbook is provided in the slide deck that will be posted later today. The third item on the use of funds checklist are EDGAR requirements. The acronym EDGAR stands for Education Department General Administrative Regulations. This regulatory document is published by the U.S. Department of Education, and LEAs must ensure that the use of funds meets all requirements noted in EDGAR. Some examples of EDGAR regulations include the requirement that LEAs request approval or provide justification before taking certain actions involving grant funds. LEAs must implement internal controls for the administration of federal grants. EDGAR also lays out procurement requirements for LEAs and provides information related to allowable costs. All regulations can be accessed on the U.S. Department of Education EDGAR webpage. The fourth item on the Title I Part A Use of Funds Requirements checklist are LEA Policies and Procedures. It is important to note that when an LEA has a more restrictive policy and/or procedure, such policy and/or procedure is required to be followed. Some examples of LEA policies and procedures include Board Policy, Accounting Procedures Manual, Internal Controls Procedures, and Travel Procedures. Note that this is not an all-inclusive list. Your organization may have additional policies and procedures in place that affect the use of funds. The final item on the checklist includes some additional use of funds requirements. LEAs must ensure that activities and/or resources are considered reasonable, necessary to carry out the intent and purpose of the Title I Part A program, allocable, and allowable under Title I Part A. The following Title I Part A use of funds resources are available to you on the TEA Title I Part A webpage. The Title I Part A Use of Funds one-pager provides the steps in the checklist I just referenced. The Title I Part A Program Guide provides a section on use of funds with some questions and answers. And we recently published a Title I Part A Frequently Asked Questions document that provides questions and answers for use of funds specific questions. When this presentation is shared, you will be able to click on the documents noted on this slide to access each of the documents. They can also be found in the Resources section of the TEA Title I Part A webpage. I will now provide information related to compliance requirements associated with the elements of a Title I Part A school-wide program, which include a comprehensive needs assessment, campus improvement plan, and requirements related to parent and family engagement. The comprehensive needs assessment process is a thorough process that includes the identification of areas of strength, areas of need, and it includes a prioritization of such needs. The process should be based on a variety of data sources. Campuses operating a school-wide program must conduct a comprehensive needs assessment of the entire school that includes information on the academic achievement of students in relation to the challenging state academic standards, particularly the needs of those students who are failing or at risk of failing to meet the challenging state academic standards, and any other factors as determined by the LEA. A Title I Part A eligible campus operating a school-wide program may use Title I funds for any activity that supports the needs of students in the school as identified through the Comprehensive Needs Assessment and articulated in the School-wide Campus Improvement Plan. A brief description of the CNA process used by the campus should be included in the CIP, along with a list of people with roles identified and a summary of the identified strengths, needs, and priorities. The campus shall develop a campus improvement plan that includes providing opportunities for all children to meet the challenging state academic standards, instructional strategies that strengthen the academic program in the school, increase the amount and quality of learning time, and address the needs of all students in the school, but particularly the needs of those at risk of not meeting the challenging state academic standards. The Campus Improvement Plan is developed with the involvement of various groups of stakeholders, which include parents, community members, teachers, principals, other school leaders, paraprofessionals, administrators, LEA staff, tribes and tribal organizations, and if appropriate, specialized instructional support personnel, technical assistance providers, school staff, students, if it's a secondary school, and other individuals as determined by the school. The plan and its implementation shall be regularly monitored and revised as necessary based on student needs to ensure all students are provided opportunities to meet the challenging state academic standards. It is required that the plan be made available to the LEA, parents, and the public, and the information contained in the plan is in an understandable and uniform format, and to the extent practicable, provided in a language that the parents can understand. A campus that receives Title I Part A funds must conduct outreach to all parents and family members and implement programs, activities, and procedures for the involvement of parents and family members. Such programs, activities, and procedures shall be planned and implemented with meaningful consultation with parents of participating children. Three of the parent and family engagement requirements include the school parent and family engagement policy, shared responsibilities for high student academic achievement, which includes a school parent compact requirement. Each Title I Part A school shall jointly develop with parents for all children served under Title I Part a school parent compact that outlines how parents, the entire school staff, and students will share the responsibility for improving student academic achievement and the means by which the school and parents will build and develop a partnership to help children achieve the state's high standards. And the third requirement is that LEAs build a capacity for involvement. The information shared for each of the elements of a Title I Part A school-wide program was a brief overview of the requirements. Please note that there are other requirements related to each of the elements. For additional information, you can review the section of the Title I Part A program guide related to the elements. And we have also developed a Title I Part A program overview webinar that can also be accessed from the TEA Title I Part A webpage. For parent and family engagement resources, you can visit the website for the Title I Part A Parent and Family Engagement Statewide Initiative, which is housed at the Education Service Center, Region 16 in Amarillo. They have numerous resources related to program compliance when you click on the link to access their compliance webpage. And we have some breaking news in the area of parent and family engagement resources. One of the requirements for Title I Part A campuses is that they conduct an annual Title I Part A meeting. The Parent and Family Engagement Statewide Initiative at Region 16 has developed some very useful tools and resources for campuses related to this requirement. They can be found on their website. The breaking news is that they recently updated their Title I Part A annual meeting toolkit. It can be downloaded in PDF and Word formats, and it has a section related to conducting the meeting in a virtual setting. Be sure to check it out as you plan for the annual Title I Part A meeting. We will now take a look at allowable activities to support homeless students and parents in a Title I Part A program. The information that will be provided is from the Education for Homeless Children and Youth ESEA non-regulatory guidance released by the U.S. Department of Education. The first question from the guidance that we will look at is related to the types of services that an LEA may provide to homeless students with funds reserved at the LEA level. Title I Part A funds may be used to provide a wide variety of services to homeless students. In addition to providing services to assist homeless students in meeting the state's challenging academic standards, Title I Part A funds may be used to provide services to homeless children and youths, including those in Title I schools that may not ordinarily be provided to other Title I students. For example, to help homeless students effectively take advantage of educational opportunities, an LEA may use Title I Part A funds to provide, where appropriate, items or services including, but not limited to, items of clothing, particularly if necessary to meet a school's dress or uniform requirement, clothing and shoes necessary to participate in physical education classes, student fees that are necessary to participate in the general education program, personal school supplies such as backpacks and notebooks, birth certificates necessary to enroll in school, immunizations, food, medical and dental services, eyeglasses and hearing aids, counseling services to address anxiety related to homelessness that is impeding learning, outreach services to students living in shelters, motels, and other temporary residences. Extended learning time, such as before and after school, Saturday classes, or summer school, to compensate for lack of quiet time for homework in shelters or other overcrowded living conditions. Tutoring services, especially in shelters or other locations where homeless students live. Parental involvement specifically oriented to reaching out to parents of homeless students. Fees for AP and IB testing. Fees for college entrance exams such as SAT or ACT. And GED testing for school-age students. Two principles govern the use of Title I Part A funds to provide such services to homeless students. First, the services must be reasonable and necessary to assist homeless students to take advantage of educational opportunities. Second, Title I Part A funds must be used only as a last resort when funds or services are not available from other public or private sources, such as the USDA's National School Lunch Program and Breakfast Program, public health clinics, or local discretionary funds, sometimes provided by the PTA, used to provide similar services for economically disadvantaged students generally. The next question from the guidance that we will look at is, in an LEA with Title I and non-Title I schools, are homeless children and youths who attend non-Title I schools eligible to receive Title I Part A services? The answer is yes. An LEA must reserve sufficient Title I funds to provide services to homeless students who attend non-Title I schools that are comparable to those provided to students in Title I schools. These services may include providing educationally related support services to children in shelters and other locations where homeless children live. Services should be provided to assist homeless students to effectively take advantage of educational opportunities. In addition to serving homeless children and youth who attend non-Title I schools, as described in question M4, the homeless set-aside may be used to provide services to homeless students in Title I schools that are not ordinarily provided to other Title I students. The next question is related to whether an LEA is required to reserve Title I funds if all schools in the LEA are Title I schools. The answer is yes. ESEA now more generally requires an LEA to reserve Title I funds necessary to provide educationally related support services to homeless children and youths, regardless of whether they attend a Title I school. In other words, this required reservation applies when all schools in an LEA are Title I schools, including Title I schoolwide schools, and when an LEA has Title I schools and non-Title I schools. The next question focuses on the amount of funds an LEA should reserve for comparable services under Title I Part A. Funds reserved for comparable services may be determined based on a needs assessment of homeless children and youths in the LEA, taking into consideration the number of homeless children and youths identified by the LEA and their unique needs. This needs assessment may be the same as a needs assessment conducted by the LEA in applying for local McKinney-Vento subgrant funds. The next question is whether LEAs are required to reserve a specific amount of Title I funds to serve homeless students. The answer is no. The ESEA does not prescribe a specific amount. However, the ESEA requires that the amount be sufficient to provide services to homeless children as described previously. Additionally, an LEA may use a needs assessment to determine the reservation amount. Finally, the homeless reservation may be used to provide homeless children and youths with services not ordinarily provided to other Title I students, including to fund a local liaison's salary and expenses and to defray the excess cost of school of origin transportation. LEAs may therefore consider these costs as well when calculating the amount of the Title I homeless reservation. This concludes the presentation.